Hi, this is PD at BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.com, and this is tutorial 234. So in our last tutorial we left off, we had just managed to get our hats actually spawning from our chests and being able to put them into our inventory, as well as actually having weapons and shields spawn along with them. So we have a little bit of variance in there. The problem we want to take care of now is one that we've already encountered before. We can equip our swords, and we can swap the swords that we currently have equipped. And same thing with the shields. Unfortunately, I only have one type of shield here. There's one. And we'll notice it's swapping to the right place and everything else. But we can't equip a hat yet. And like I said, this is a problem we've already run into before. If we actually look at where the error message is coming from and take a look at the actual error message, the prefab we want cannot be instantiated or instantiated to null. And we take a look, and it's trying to equip a shield, and it doesn't have the right path. And the reason why it's trying to equip a shield is if we go over to my GUI, we take a look to see if it's of type armor, which a hat is, or in this case a helmet, and it's calling the equip shield. So this is something that we're going to have to be able to overcome. And when I come into a problem like this, the first thing I'll usually look at is, well, let's go take a look at armor. Is there any way to differentiate the different types of armor? And I go in, I take a look, we have an armor level, we have a couple of constructors, there's really nothing here to work with, right? But if you take a look, it comes from clothing. So let's go over and look at clothing. And the first thing you see is that it actually has an armor slot. Now, this is just an enumeration, so this is something that we can actually use to figure out exactly where it's supposed to go, since that's actually why we made it. And I remember we were working on another one too, and I think it might have been in the PC class. Let me just come down to the bottom. Yes, equipment slots. Now, I'm actually thinking of switching everything over to using the equipment slots. So let's go into clothing. And instead of being an armor slot, I'm going to make it an equipment slot. I'm not going to comment out the armor slots yet, at least not the enumeration, because I do want to sit down and go through and see what else uses this. But for now, I'm just going to make it private. And equipment slot. And I'm still going to call it slot. And I'll comment this out. Then we have to go through. And there's going to be a few changes here, so I'm just going to comment mine out. Go ahead and just overwrite yours. I'm just commenting mine out for the people that have purchased the scripts, so they can at least see what the old code was before. And this was equipment slot dot head. And let's actually put the old code above, so it has a bit of flow to it. And of course right here I'm actually just going to go in and actually change this one. And slot equals slot. And we're just going to return a slot, but the slot we're returning is now an equipment slot. And now that I'm done all that, I am going to go ahead and comment this out and see what errors it gives me. So I'll go ahead and hit clear. Doesn't seem to give me any errors. I guess I'm just not accessing that yet. But we're going to get to it. So let me grab a hat and a shield. Perfect. And of course I can still grab the shield and the shield goes on. Alright. So we now have a way to differentiate the different types of armor. So I'm going to come back into my GUI. And right here where I'm checking to see, let me just check. Yeah, right in here where I'm checking to see if it's armor or not, I'm going to want to do something a little bit different in here. I'm going to want to actually put a switch block in here now, and put a switch block in here now and switch on the actual equipment slot that we actually have, and have it swap with the armor that way. Now there's a few ways we can do this, but well, let's just start off by templating out exactly what it is we're going to have to do. So let's start off, we'll just make our switch block. And we're going to want to be able to switch on something. And the thing that we're going to be switching on is our equipment slot type. And for now, I'm just going to do the head one for now. And we'll want a break statement in there. And for now, I'm just going to throw out a debug log. And I'm just going to say head slot. Just so I know when I actually get to a piece of equipment that goes on the head, it's going to be in the head slot. Okay, so how do we get something to switch on? Well, we're going to want to switch on this. There's going to be a few problems with it. So we'll just start off, and we want to get to its slot, which we know, since it's armor and it inherits from clothing, we should be able to access this slot property. But when we start off, if I'm in the right one, yes I am. If we try to actually get to the slot property, we notice it's not there. And if you go ahead and look through, you'll notice that all the properties that we do have access to are all the ones actually from item. And that's because all the items in our inventory are actually of type item by default, even though we're checking to see if when this is created, if it is a type of armor. And what we want to do is actually convert this back to being an armor type. So you can come in front and just say armor. And we'll save this off. This will make it an armor again. But if we come into here, we'll notice that armor cannot be converted to, okay, let's see, what am I doing wrong? This will probably take a little fidgeting to get going. Oh, I need to actually be equal to some sort of, something for it to switch on. But now that we have it set to be of type armor, we now have access to its slot. So let's save that off. We'll head back into Unity. And we're still getting it that it cannot convert it. Well, let's go up here. My mouse battery appears to be dying. Let's go up here and actually just create an armor. And I'm just going to call it arm. And I'm going to actually make it equal to what's in here, minus the slot part. And minus that last set of parentheses. So now we know arm is an armor, and whoops. Arm is an armor, and all it's doing is converting this piece here to back to an armor type of class. And we should just be able to come in here now and say arm dot slot. So we'll just save that off. See if that works. Well, okay, that one did not give us an error. Now it's still going to error when we try to put a hat on, but we should get a debug message when we do. So let's go ahead, hit clear. We got a shield. Looking for a hat. I guess we should have left the there we go, we got some hats there. So I'll open it up. I'm going to equip a shield. And we should not be getting that. Actually, yeah, we're getting that because I bet when we're actually creating the items, we're not setting the slots. See, item generator, let's come down to where we create shields. So here's where we create a hat, and here's where we create the shield. And if we look as we go through here, we're assigning the properties to it, but one thing that we're not doing, that we need now, is to assign the equipment slot. So we're going to say the slot is equal to, well, equipment slot dot, and this is the shield, so we want the offhand. And I just want to take a look at the count there. The count's all capital. Alright. So now we're actually assigning the shield to be worn on the offhand. So I'm just going to make a quick comment here. Assign the equipment slot where this can be assigned. And I'm going to take the exact same line of code. And I'm going to come down to hat. And right before we return hat, I'm going to paste it in and just change the slot it's being assigned to head. And we'll save that off. Should be good now. So let's go back into Unity. I'm going to clear everything out. We'll start it up, and when we equip a shield, we should not get that message now. It should only exist for hats. Of course, we still haven't handled dealing with actually putting the hat on yet, but we'll get there. There should be enough items. So we have a shield, so I'll equip the shield. And sure enough, there's our shield. Switch shields. There we go. We switch shields. And yep, we have hats. So I'll put the hat on. And we get our debug log for the hat. So we know it's seeing that as a hat. Of course, we lost a shield. And we still get the error. But we're getting there. So let's save that off. And we'll head back into our script. And I'm going to go back over to the my GUI script. And I'm going to start flushing out this switch statement. So I'm going to go ahead and put my next case in, which will be equipment slot dot offhand for my shield. I'm going to add my break. Let's throw a debug in there just for the hell of it. Well, maybe not just for the hell of it, just a little bit more info when we're doing stuff. And I'm just going to say shield slot. And I don't use the default very often here, but this time I am. And the reason why is I want to know if I started trying to equip something that isn't armor and I don't have a slot set up for it yet. So all I'm going to do is just put out a debug log statement. And I'm just going to say no defined equipment slot. And because I use the default so few times, I'm not sure if it needs the break. I'm pretty sure it does. Let me just check. Apparently it did. Great. So let's see, we got that. Now let's start integrating this stuff here into it. So we have this little if-else block. So we're basically checking to see if the equipped spot that we're looking for is equal to null, and if so, then we're swapping. So I'm just going to take this. This is for the shield. So I'm going to come up to the shield part, which is right here. I'm going to put a couple spaces in there just because I want to have a good defined area of where the code I cut and paste is. And I usually do the same thing with my cases. But anyway, I'm going to actually cut and paste it again now that I have it all tabbed nicely. And I'm going to do the same thing for my head slot. Now I am going to have to change what's being equipped, or at least where it's being equipped to. And we notice here we're just calling the shield. But everything else should be fine. Actually, no, we're going to have to... Well, we could switch over to the arm variable that we're using, or we could just keep using the instance. Right now it really doesn't matter, so I'm just going to leave it as the PC instance in our inventory. And I'm just checking just to make sure. Yeah, so we'll just leave it like that, and let's go ahead and change this method. So I have to come into PC. And we'll come up, and I believe it was in PC. Yes, equip shield. So just like before, we have equip weapon right above it. And I'm just going to cut and paste equip shield. And I'll just change the name. And I'm going to say headgear. I really should try to keep the same naming convention. So in other words, go through and change everything else to headgear, because I think headgear is a much better descriptive name than hats. And I forget what else. I think I was calling it heads and hats. But anyway, that's something you should be able to do behind the scenes. But let's go through. We're going to be switching the equipment slot to not offhand, but head And we'll come down here, and I'm just actually going to cut and paste just like we did before. And then we'll come down here. Now we need to get the offhand or the head mount or for the helmet, but I want to finish working on the equipment slots first. So there's nothing there. Here's one here we have to switch. And I'm just going to keep going through. One more right there. And that looks like that's it. Now we have to make a mount for your headgear if you don't already have one. Now I'm just going to go in and check. I don't believe I've actually made mine yet. I've been slacking. So let me go in. We're in the meshes here. Items. So we want to go to the character. Models. I'm in the wrong one. Character, models, prefab, human, male, muscular. So I've got weapon, offhand, I have hair. I do have my helmet mount set. So great. I am thinking of changing that to a headgear, but for now I'm just going to leave it to helmet mount. And that means I can just come right back in. Hopefully it is stored right. And change the offhand mount to head mount. Or helmet mount. It should be that simple. It should be being the operative word there. And we'll just come through everywhere you see the... And we're also going to have to change this too. We don't want the shield mission, but we want the... They're called it hats. What a horrible name. But that's what you get when you don't do a lot of planning before you actually start coding. There we go. And the last thing I have to change is this constant here. So I'm going to come over to game settings too. And this is what I called it. So I'm just going to come right back in into PC, and we should just be able to cut and paste that. So let's save that off. We're going to head back into Unity. And there doesn't appear to be any error, so let's just start this bad boy back up, and we'll head over to chest and we'll see what I did wrong. So I'm going to open it up. We did get a couple hats, that's good. I want a shield as well, just to make sure that, even though we didn't really play around with the shield code. Alright, so let's go ahead and start equipping stuff. So let's do the shield first. Yep, shield slot, and switching. And well, let's try a hat. We'll start off with, I believe someone told me it was a creeper hat. And actually we get an error. The prefab, okay, so it's not creating the prefab properly. So we'll come in. And that is the right... Do we have it set properly? We have equipped shield still. I named it improperly. Looks like I went through and made all the edits to the wrong function. So I'm just going to switch these names. And I'm going to go through and make sure I actually have everything working right here. So I've got head down here, which now needs to be offhand. I knew it was going too smooth. It looks like I did a bit of mix and match for each. So I'm just going to actually go through and line all these back up again. So make sure you're in the equip headgear. Go through your enumeration, switching offhand to the head. It might have actually been faster to do it the other way because there's fewer changes if I do it the other way. So we got equip shield. Okay, we want to change. Let's see, offhand. Okay, so we're down here, helmet mount. We're going to cut and paste that. We're going to put it in here. We have to change this here to the hat. That's to the head. Helmet mount. There we go. Save it off. Let's make sure we get the proper constant. Make sure we're actually putting it in the right spot this time. And make sure everything up here is still good. And then go to My on GUI. And when you're equipping headpiece, make sure you change the function name. So I'm actually just going to cut and paste the function name. Cut and paste can be a huge enemy at times. It causes a lot of errors, so you have to be careful with it. So I'll come in. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. And that should be it. So let's go back in. Let's see what I did wrong this time. Nothing obvious right off the start. I'm just taking a look here. There's nothing special there. So let's go ahead. We'll open something up. Hopefully we get a nice mix of items. Well, we did get one of each at least. Let's try to get at least 2 hats. Great, there's another hat. We only have one more chest, so hopefully this one's going to work and this will be the big finale. Ooh, a green creeper. Alright, so shield. Alright, they're switching. Weapon. Yep, that's switching. Now you might notice my torch isn't lit yet, and that's something I want to work on a little bit later. I don't want it to be the flame to actually come out until it's actually being equipped. But anyway, let's go ahead and try the hat. Yay! Is it in the right spot? Looks pretty good. Let's try the green creeper. There we go. I'm trying to think if I have any more game objects that I actually have to equip to my character. And for my character model set, I believe the only other game objects that I have that I'll be attaching to my character are my shoulder pads. Everything else is a material change. Now, the last vote for that we had up on the site for what people wanted to work on next is already done. And we're going to be going into those. I was just doing this little series here as a kind of a filler till we got there. I did run a little bit long, but the things I think I would like you to look at before we come back to this was the things we talked about before. Is we've got a lot of repetition going on here, and some of it you should be able to break down into only like fewer lines of code. Basically, we want reusable code. So think about that, and that's pretty much it for now. I'll see you in the next tutorial. So don't forget to thumbs up the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and favorite it. It really helps me out. Thanks a lot. Leave your comments below. Bye-bye.